Welcome to the I Am Solution Show. I'm your host, Coach Warren. Coach Moo is out in the community doing what he do, doing what we do. Today I have a very, very special guest that I have known for a very long time that does great community work in and around Homewood and throughout the Pittsburgh area. Her name is Dina Blackwell. We call her Free. She is the co-founder of the House of Manna, House of Mercies. Did I say that right?
I like that, but it's House of Manna Faith Community.
I'm sorry.
But that might be a prophecy. Might be a prophecy.
I'll take that. We're going to keep that in. All right. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I know you was just a little nervous, but this is what we do. You know, we're two community leaders talking about the things that we've done over the years, and you know, our goal is just for people to know what you do and know the space that you do it in, and just to get to know you a little bit better. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I'm so proud of the work that you continue to do. You've blossomed. Just watching you has been a blessing. And I know Freedom, who's my late husband,
Yes.
who I co-founded House of Manna with, he'd be so proud of you.
Yeah, Freedom. Let's talk Freedom, man. Freedom Blackwell. Shout out to Freedom. Super inspirational. Super, to me, inspirational. I met your late husband. I was coaching down in Homewood, and this big dude, he was as big as me, came and like, yeah, I want to coach, I want to help, I want to do this, and you know, down in Homewood, it's like you got to be plugged in. You got to know somebody that gets you in, and so, you know, I got to know him. Like he was, you know, I told him like, well, cool, you know, because I was like the only one there at that point, and he spoke like he had experience and he was knowledgeable about the game, and so that's how I really got to. That's when I really first met him, and then I want to say after our first little practice that we had, I had a conversation with him about who he was and where he come from, and he was telling me that God sent him to Homewood, and he had this vision, and he was with I want to say Northway Church at that time, and he went to Pitt, and so he gave me his whole little backstory, and then we got to working together really like deeper in the community, beyond the field, beyond the sports, and which was cool, because we collaborated on the STEM piece, which was, what was that, the first? Like
the first in the region.
Yeah, first in the region.
No one knew what STEM was, so we spent a lot of money invested in just what was STEM, and because he played football for Pitt, he graduated, he was pre-med, so he had a passion for science and sports and for the community.
Makes sense, yes.
Hill was a sports community, and we went from there.
Yeah, because honestly, I was connected through that, because STEM was like new to me too, like to put all those things together, but we were doing it anyway, right? But to classify it like that
and put a name on it,
yeah, it was real cool, and it was we did some fun stuff. We had about 60 kids in that program.
5 years.
Yeah, built some race cars,
solar panels,
some cool stuff we was doing. Work with the twins, the Herds. Shout out to the Herds. Those are still my guys. So it was real cool. So Freedom definitely was an inspiration. Um, Definitely kept in touch with him throughout the years. Just talked to him, just had some great conversations. He was always in tune with the spirit. You know what I mean? And his passing definitely was tough. It was just like, why?
He would say, why not?
Yeah, and he would say, why not? Right? But there was a lot of life that came off of that.
Yeah.
But just wanted to let you know we loved him. And
he loved the community.
Yeah, that was my guy.
He loved building other black men.
Yeah.
That was his passion. That was his everyday get up.
Mm-hmm.
How can we better our community when you talk about violence, and how can we stop nonviolence? The whole movement.
Yeah.
But it's always been a movement, and there's nothing new under the sun. So what he would think, what we would think about is, how can we react to it different? How can we create a new eco map, if you will, of dealing with our community trauma, holding our families accountable, because we cannot raise our other people's families.
Right.
We have our own, but how can we do it together?
Right.
Where it's organic and not institutional, and it's a lot. And we was 24/7 with it.
Yeah.
So we was chasing people on the corner, and that's how we started All for Life.
Okay.
So.
And All for Life? What was All for Life?
That was workforce development, where we built relationship with the guys that was in the community, mostly around the sets. If you know what that means, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
We were able to have all the sets in at once. We were able to pay them $1,000 a month to not just learn a trade, but learn who they were.
Yeah.
And that's when you stop, or attempt to be a part of the solution, because it's not just one piece.
Yeah.
And that's where our ancestors, it takes a village, because we all are called and blessed with a gift to offer a piece. So All for Life was multi-facade. So they spent time with Freedom, with building their spirit, and looking in the mirror and asking themselves, not other people, tough questions about who they are, and turning, if you will, the finger back at themselves.
Right.
Then coming, being nurtured by Free, or yelled at.
Yeah. Either way, it was
connected with other partners to learn a trade. I mean, they learned how to build a house from the ground up, but we ended up specializing in painting.
Okay.
My grandfather was a painter. My family, the Olstons, were painters. I know how to paint, so I knew if we got in a pickle, I could jump in and paint, which I had to do one time. So we got it done. So they felt good about themselves because they earned money.
Yeah.
They could provide, because the truth is our guys got to do more than just be regular teenagers sometimes, or young men. They got to raise families.
Yeah.
Step in where their dads or uncles or whoever can be.
Because the truth is, if you asking them this, hey, come off the block, or
you got to put money
down,
in their pocket.
You got to replace it with something, right? And you guys did it with teaching the trade, which is lucrative, which is.
And two of my guys own their own painting companies in the union. We had 30 guys and only 3 went back. But it was 1 new case, 2 are old cases.
Okay.
Which we were able to have reduced because of the support. So the program was successful, but when Freedom passed away, I had to pivot.
Yeah.
And see who the Freedom was. And so that's where we are now.
Yeah. and you still nurturing the community because I see you um, over right off of Frankstown at the building, right? And so, what kind of things do you have going on over there? Because I see a lot of activity. I see you doing a lot of things with a lot of different type of people. So, tell me a little bit about that.
So when Freedom first passed away, we kind of tried to stick with. We had the services for about a year as we tried to transition, and we continued to do Prayer for Peace March, which I'm glad to say 2 years ago I was able to pass the torch to Brother Cornell Jones, who he and his wife now lead it.
Okay.
And I just support, which I'm grateful after 12 years.
Yeah.
He was not just a colleague and a fellow minister with Freedom. They both were Presbyterian ministers, but they were friends.
Yeah.
And we actually sat down with another couple, Darnell Drury and his wife, Rolanda, and it was the six of us when we first started brainstorming about House of Manna.
Okay.
So they've been with us for a long time.
Yeah.
So it felt right.
Yeah. And so that March is what? What's the significance?
Good Friday. It's the holiest day for those that follow Christ.
Okay.
So that was why we picked that day. And we march for acknowledgement of moms, parents, families that lost their children to violence.
Yeah.
That's how it initially started. Recognizing, giving them space, holding them.
Yeah.
Letting them know that we see them and we love them. Mama C, she would help in the beginning, and she helped us organize that piece of it.
Okay.
And
where you march
Sister
from?
Carol as well. We started Westinghouse.
Okay.
And we march up Hermitage. When we get to the top of Brushton, it's so nice because it's nostalgic, because people look out their windows, they come out on the porch, and when we get up the top of Brushton, they, all participate in their own way.
Okay.
And I love that because it's organic and they could be a part of it but not feel pressure.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we come down, and then at the end at Frankstown, community leaders normally have a word, and then we march down to House of Manna, which will now be Freedom Square.
Mm-hmm.
And
shout out Freedom once again.
Ashe.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work. He deserved that.
But
sure. His name was fitting because it's not just freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the community. It's cooperative. The last 2 years, I've been blessed to be heavily involved on a national level, working with cooperatives.
Okay.
In food justice and climate justice. So continuing to work in that way, but getting back to what's been going on at House of Manna. So I started partnering.
Okay.
21 partners.
Okay.
That got me through the last 7 years.
Mm.
So partnering with the city, partnering with then State Rep Ed, now our mayor, is still very supportive. Grateful for his and his wife's support. For the House of Manna NHRA. I got great news coming up for the building, but I can't announce it yet. But Frankstown, claiming it, that we can make the announcement at this year's Good Friday.
Okay.
But definitely in the House of Manna side, Freedom Foods, I'm working on that, and it's not a free thing, not a House of Manna thing. Yeah. It's a community cooperative grocery store. That was led by the vision was cast out and anchored by Sister Rockweed, who's the executive director of Bugs.
Okay.
And
what is Bugs?
Black Urban Gardeners. She leads the Homewood, and really the city cooperative for urban farmers.
Okay. So these are the gardens that you see throughout the community.
And they're led by different people, but it's a cooperative. So, like OBB has a garden, Operation Better Block, Oasis Bible Center, different groups. The Y, they have garden right here.
And so those things produced are going to be able to be sold,
and that's where you see the Homewood Farmers Market.
Yeah.
Those are all the gardens in the community coming together to sell fresh produce.
That's big.
So it is. And so anchoring off of that movement, the community I've had in partnership with Sister Rockweed, we've had now 4 community meetings. And the next one will be in March.
Because there's no grocery store in Homewood.
Hasn't been one in 45 years. So looking forward to opening that.
Yeah, that's big. That's just like what's happening on the hill with Salim's and that sort of thing. So.
And that's a blessing. And the only thing that I'm excited about that's different is that it's a cooperative, so it's member owned.
Nice.
So the community will own this. You know, you'll go in and see people that look like you.
Yeah.
You have your voice, and you'll be heard. So anyone who's familiar with the Eastern Food Co-op, who's supportive in what we're doing, I've been a member there for I think 27 years now, and you know you have a say.
Okay.
But now I can walk around the corner into something that we did together.
Yeah.
Right here in our own community, and that's something different.
How important is co-ops, partnerships, unifying with people with the same goal, maybe a different route, but how important is unity, and especially in our community?
I think it's vital. I think it's who we are as a people. It's how it's our culture. And I think culture is very integral in when you talk about nonviolence and how can we create an ecosystem, eco map that humanity is the center of it.
Yeah.
And for, us as Black people, what does that look like? And not be afraid of our culture, not be afraid of stepping up, and not just being reactionary, living it every day.
Right.
And that's what House of Manna is for everyday people. So we never, focus on just one type of trauma or one type of, I don't believe in victimization.
Okay.
Because that's a form of trauma and oppression in and of itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Always thinking, you gotta recognize it, acknowledge it, hold it, you know what I mean? But don't live it.
Yeah.
Love life.
Absolutely.
You gotta love life, not, you know what I mean? I don't know what the word is, but some people live in the past.
Yeah.
Where it's not healthy, where they're not visiting it, holding it, and letting it go. They're
reliving it,
internalizing it, and making it their identity. Yeah. And I think when you let that change your, reaction, thought process, and your identity, then it's not, and be allowed to grieve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of times our people, we only have a minute to think, let alone grieve. So creating spaces through culture to grieve and hold each other.
Yeah, there's a process in, dealing with trauma. And what you were just talking about just, we get stuck and just in the sense of just reliving these things over and over because we don't have the space. We don't have the time to process what happened, especially when you lose a child or you lose a husband or you lose a brother or you lose a friend. And if you're young or old, I mean, it's a process, it is traumatic. Now, your you're located in the really.
Just say it so.
Hold on.
They call it the spot.
Yeah, you're located in a really specific part of Homewood that is
the heart of Homewood.
Citywide known, right? So tell us about, because you're spiritual, you believe in God, all that, right? And there's just a lot of stuff happening on these blocks. Like, how do you deal with that? And because I see you dealing with the people. People gonna have issues, right? And I believe that your space helps a lot of people, right? And it's comforting to those who have fallen to say, hey, I don't have, and I can go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some still may be struggling with whatever they're struggling with, but it's a really heavy trafficked area. So how do you deal with that? Because I know you know everybody. I know you do.
Yep. I guess the first thing is don't think of it as dealing with it. You gotta think of it as what you do.
It's a ministry, right?
Like some people get up and they write, they're artists. I get up and serve.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not like I haven't cussed nobody out over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love the people. I see them as God's people first.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that, we're just a day away. Who knows? And they help me.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. The KKs and Bubbles and they come over and Miss Ann and keep it clean because now I don't like the broken windows, and that comes with who you serve, the addiction and the arguments that they have over I had to turn the plug off because they were fighting over charging up their phones. So it's just, you have to adapt to what they're going through. But
you got a servant's heart, you just can't, especially the calling that you have on your life to be who you are. Those folks that are out who are struggling with whatever, and they find comfort in what you're doing, they find truth in what you're doing, that's a sign to me that you're in the right place doing the right things, because if you wasn't doing it, who would be doing it? And the fact that I remember how you guys I got the building. I remember that. Can you tell that story real quick about how you actually...
Well, we started in the Coliseum.
Got the building, yeah.
We actually started on the street.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a place. And I was working at Presbyterian. They were kind enough to let us store all our equipment and everything. So every Friday we was packing a van and set up somewhere in Homewood. And it was always on Frankstown. So then Mr. John and Miss Tina, they let us lease out their trolley station. We were so happy to have a spot.
Yeah.
We still would go out to Kazuki's and still set up, but every Friday we were now at the Coliseum.
Okay.
And we partner with suburban churches that provided the food. And in Presbyterian, a lot of churches, period, white churches, suburban churches, even upper middle class black mega churches.
Yeah.
We wanted to give people an opportunity that they normally would have serving locally, to keep that mushy feeling, if you would, for people, for God's humanity, but serving people that's 5 to 10 miles from you.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
So our mission was reconciliation. So one of the people that was volunteering from one of the churches, me and him, most people didn't know we were a faith community because we were hip hop.
Yeah.
And we had dreads, and we wore jeans and t-shirts, and it didn't matter where we were. We represented who God called us to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were outside dancing. Yeah, I think MOT was rapping, and the guy, he's like, I showed him the building, and I was like, God said that's going to be our building for House of Manna to serve God's people, and for Black Wall Street, Pittsburgh, the anchor from there. And he was like, oh, call me next week, and I'll help you make that happen. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
And we went, long story short, he ended up being the president of the foundation, and it just rolled from there. And we made a lot of sacrifices. We did the work 3 years without funding. Our family made a lot of sacrifices, but our faith meant more, our commitment.
Yeah.
And so the next 5-6 years, we were blessed to have the budget to get the building. We got Idlewild House, which we got before the building.
Okay.
Which I'm working on opening this spring.
And all it took was you to sacrifice and move in your sacrifice for those things to be shown to you, which is, the heart of a servant, right? Like, that's what we got to do. And
God's grace is sufficient.
Yeah.
And that's been my mantra since Freedom passed, and since just everybody passed. I lost my mom, my dad, my birth mother, everybody, the whole nuclear family. So I know and can relate, and I live in a community.
Yeah.
So I'm here every day. And it was nice, like, for example, during COVID was terrible, but I was able to be essential. So partnering with 412 and Bugs and the USDA to pass out food.
Yeah.
So it's like we never stop.
Yeah.
It's like God always created a space for us to offer.
Yeah, for him to use you in a time where nobody was trying to be used, honestly. And no, his grace is definitely sufficient. Now, you just mentioned that, people like community leaders like yourself, don't reveal a lot of, loss and things like that, because you got so many people that you're taking care of. It's like you can't just share that with everybody. So I know that those things affect you. And then I know on top of that, we ask all our guests this question: how does the community violence, on top of what you've already personally gone through, how does it affect you, and how does it, how do you respond to that type stuff?
Initially, it was responding, going out to every call, to every, but when Freedom passed away, I didn't really have nobody to run out with no more. It was like, how do I deal with it now?
Yeah.
And our initial response was always prayer, what should I do next? And for me now, it's just being there for the families in however way I can. Whether that's showing up for the families. House of Manna did, unfortunately, a lot of repasses for families, and it's hard to say because every family is different.
Yeah.
It might just be a conversation, but when you're going through your own, you really have to do what we call shadow work, and deal with yourself.
Yeah.
The dark and the light.
Yeah.
And Freedom and I always said to all our staff, all our volunteers, if you come to House of Manna or HRA, be ready to change. So that's always in the back of my mind anyway. And unfortunately, living in a community where trauma happens so much, you almost create this safety wall, like, and I don't want to call it a numbness because I still feel.
Yeah.
You have to have compassion.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's my faith.
Yeah.
That's always got to be the answer. Cause
yeah.
I've seen some dark days. just in my own journey.
Right.
And then thinking, wow, how do people that don't have faith deal with this darkness? And that becomes my purpose, to make sure people not going out judging, you know what I mean, just offering light, whatever that looks like.
Right. Whatever they need. We also like to, you know, because there's some people that may not know you and may not know, you know, House of Manna and all those things. And so hopefully through I Am a Solution, they get to know you a little better. And we also are looking for, you know, funders to watch this thing. Like, what are your needs?
Oh,
what
man.
Are some of the
what
things that
needs?
you need to continue your mission, and not on an insignificant level? I mean,
what I need right now, I really need volunteers to come help clean up around the building. But funding is definitely needed because I want to get the windows fixed and start the vanilla shell for the prospective tenants coming in the Frankstown side. Because, you know, once I get Frankstown side open,
yeah.
Because now every Friday from 1 o'clock to about 4 o'clock, we have Prevention Point there. And that was through the relationship, like I said, through then our mayor was the state rep. So it's been that long since they've been there serving the community with drug and alcohol intervention, crisis, housing, phones. They take people right then and there to get a bed.
Okay.
And that's every Friday. We had food not bombs on Saturday. So we have things in place. But everyone knows that if you sit and they have a space where nothing's going on, it's going to be what it is. So definitely looking for that initial funding, and also people that want to do food. If you want to sign up to give away food during the week, we need people to do that.
Okay.
Because we need to start changing our focus and start getting them together, because when we start something, we don't push people out.
Okay.
We got to have somewhere for them to hang out, quote unquote.
No, that's you gotta need a safe space,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if anybody's out there that wanna come and help Free down at the House of Manna,
Appreciate it.
yeah, what's the address down there?
7240 Frankstown, Freedom Square.
7240 Frankstown, Freedom Square. You know, I wanted to bring her on to show that, one, we support what you're doing, right?
Thank you.
And support for us comes in different ways, whether it's putting you in front of the camera, whether it's coming down volunteering, whatever the case may be. If you are out there and you want to be a part of, you know, helping the Homewood community, helping the ministry, helping the movement, here's someone right here who's boots on the ground. And this is what we promised y'all. We promised to bring y'all the people who aren't seeking, you know, the spotlight. And it's tough to nail these people down because they're doing so much, as you can see, right? And
I appreciate it.
yeah, this is the work that needs to be done. And so
I stepped out my comfort zone.
I appreciate it. And you did really, really good. And so
Thank you.
I hope that you get some support from this. And if you're out there, again, Freedom Square, 7140 Frankstown Avenue.
The new home, Freedom Foods, Co-op Market, First Market, grocery store owned by the people, for the people, in 45 years.
All right, bet. Well, look, I'll be posting all your stuff. I'll be posting all the contact information so the people can get with you. This is I Am a Solution. I'm here with Freedom Blackwell, and we thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, and thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Peace.